is Olivia, and I'm here with Joe Erb, Quanex Commercial Sales Specialist. Welcome, Joe, and thanks for joining us. This is the first video of our GlassBuild Connect virtual presentation series, and this video is going to be focusing on the commercial aspect of the market right now. We've got a lot going on, a lot's changed since GlassBuild 2019 when we were last together. So let's start off by talking through just some of the trends that you're seeing overall on the commercial side of the market, and you know what's been going on since last we spoke.
Hi, Olivia, and thanks. Great to have the opportunity to be a part of GlassBuild Connect here and be a part of this. Wish we could be in person, but we'll save that for next year.
Yep.
As far as the overall trend that we're seeing, obviously we're in some challenging times right now, but I think the overall market and the trends that I'm hearing and seeing is there's still a good sense of optimism in the marketplace. There is a sense that things might be tightening up a little bit, but overall I think there's still a sense that things are going to be okay. And I think from the residential side, we saw a tightening on that initially during this pandemic, and then things at the floodgates have really just opened up for many of those fabricators to the point where they're really struggling to keep up in some cases with raw materials to continue to build their windows and doors, etc. And so I think that's a great thing. I think on the architectural, the commercial side, there is a bit more tightening there. We are seeing some of the bids softening a little bit. Maybe the work is still steady, but the size of the jobs are smaller, and maybe the number of people bidding on those jobs is increasing. Sense that we may end up also starting to see some panic bidding as smaller guys and others try to just continue to keep busy. But again, we'll see where that leads us. I think for now there's still a good sense of optimism out there. I think as far as another trend, and this is something that is, maybe we call it the new normal too, but the labor challenge has been something that you and I have talked about for it seems like years now. Different reasons for it, and I think the pandemic is only exacerbating that challenge, and lends itself obviously to creative ways of addressing that through labor reduction schemes, and I think we'll cover some of that later here.
Mm-hmm. So let's shift over to fabricators. Is there anything new that they're seeing in their designs? What are their customers looking for? Not only just the market in general, but because of the pandemic that may shift the industry moving forward.
I think there's been a little bit of a shift maybe, but I think in general, we're still seeing the trends of larger glass. I think that's still out there. That's something we've talked about over the last number of years. And so the demand for larger glazing is still there. But I think another trend that I'm seeing that will impact fabricators is with this pandemic specifically and healthy building design, the need or the push for natural ventilation. And I think that will lend itself to those fabricators that have solutions for operable windows that can be installed into facades, whether that's into existing curtain wall or maybe there's a use of more punched openings and ribbon wall. That natural ventilation is another trend that I think we're going to continue to see. There's a lot of focus on the healthy building side of things, and a lot of focus on the energy codes continue to push for high performance glass. So I really think the fabricators are still very much positioned to service the market well with the products that are out there.
And many fabricators, as we know, have moved to fully automated production. Can you talk a little bit about how they may have benefited from that? Some of the key reasons that they made that choice in the first place to switch over to fully automated?
Sure, and I think there's a lot of reasons for automation. I think one of the big drivers that I have seen for automation is obviously driving for consistency and quality of products to be produced, and how to do that in a cost-effective way. How do we deal with our continued demand for a greater output while dealing with the challenge of the labor that we talked about earlier? Hard to get and keep good skilled labor in the factory, and one of the easiest ways to do that is investing in some form of automation throughout the plant. The insulating glass line is a perfect example, and our customers that have taken advantage of that have really seen the benefits and reaped the rewards from that. It does take work. It takes managing that well. But when you're able to reduce the number of people, the number of touch points while increasing throughput, output, and doing that in a cost-effective way, very beneficial. They've also benefited, obviously, in this pandemic time when the need for the distancing and social distancing and spacing is as a mandate. Automation with far few people is a great way of accomplishing that, separating people, keeping them healthy. And so I see that as just an added benefit, not just during the pandemic, but in the future as we're just dealing with manufacturing in general. So a lot of great benefits that automation can bring.
But you also kind of added to the fact that, maybe automation doesn't necessarily solve everything. So can you kind of talk a little reality versus just the pros of it? What are some of the real world results? And then also kind of the challenges that your customers have seen as they move to fully automated?
It's a great point. And I think that you certainly have to take in consideration where you are in the need for automation, and then do your homework on the front end with automation. From a real world perspective, there's great opportunities to really drive efficiencies, but you have to get buy-in from your team. The onboarding process for our employees and with this new line is very important. It can be a little scary for those that have been working in the insulating glass line, for example, and you bring in a fully automated line. The fear that there's displacement of jobs. And I think the important thing is to help them understand that this is actually to position the company to not only be providing great products now, but positioning them to do so much more cost effectively to position the company to be there for the long term. And that each and every employee is an important part and an asset for accomplishing that. And the way to do that is really getting them engaged early in this process and helping them to think about the things that they can do to make sure that this line coming in will be dialed in and ready to go when everything hits the ground. Looking at things like how to avoid having bottlenecks. If we're investing in this line, have we thought about glass cutting? Do we have enough capacity to cut the glass we need? Do we have enough space to move the extra units away from the end of the line once we've produced it with this high-speed automation? All of those things are very important for the fabricator to consider. But done right, it can be a very effective solution and provide a tremendous benefit, including the fact that they're providing a much more consistent, higher quality product out the end of the door. I think the other thing that is important for them is they've got to make sure that they maintain the equipment correctly. Maintaining the equipment is a key part of any piece of equipment or automation. It's not maintained well, it's not going to run at maximum efficiencies, and obviously that's going to be a disappointment to all those involved. So I think it really just involves getting the whole team on board with this early on in the process. For those that have done that, it's been a tremendous success for them.
Great. So, obviously times can be challenging for some businesses right now, and we talked through automation. It's obviously a very hefty investment. What would you say to me if maybe I'm one of those customers who can't make that huge investment right now, but want to take some steps forward with it?
That's a great point. Not everyone is at a volume where automation makes sense for them financially. I think the key there is partnering with a supplier that really can help you from the very small steps getting into a system all the way through to full automation or wherever in between that your demands require. And I think one of the neat things with working with Quanex for 26 years is I've seen that reality with our company and our solutions and the partners that we've worked with, both on the equipment side and on the spacer side, balancing the need for the customer, not simply forcing them into automation, but giving them options on the front end. We have solutions from a very, I'll call it manual approach, which even then it's significantly reduced number of touch points and much more efficient, but it's a very low capital investment to get started with the spacer technology. And then there's intermediate steps with semi-automation, and then full automation. And with each, there's building block or modular approaches to it so that if you're not quite ready for it now, you can still take advantage of the benefits of high performance technology for the market, and then grow into it with more and more efficiencies as your volumes increase, to the point where you can invest in that fully automated line, and other components within the factory.
And would you say that that advice that you just gave applies to residential manufacturers as well?
I think it does, and I don't know that's any different residentially. In fact, residential windows, oftentimes the glass, the IGs that are produced on those lines are smaller than your architectural glass. So your square footage of glass being produced may be similar, but the number of units that you're producing residentially actually is usually higher, the number of units that you're producing. And so that automation and those strategies dovetail very nicely for the residential market with the high speed and ultra high speed lines that are available out there right now.
Okay, so you touched on this a little bit earlier, Joe. Right now with the pandemic, health and safety are obviously a hot topic, especially in plants. A lot of them were deemed essential, had to work through the pandemic. What are you seeing and hearing from customers regarding keeping everyone on the plant floor safe?
I think from the health and safety side, and how we're hearing customers respond to that topic, obviously it's a hot topic right now with the pandemic, but I'd like to believe, and I really do, that safety has been an important, and health and safety of their employees in the factory has been an important topic for many, if not all, fabricators that are out there. Obviously this pandemic has affected different people in different ways. Some areas are harder hit than others. But I think the well-being of our employees, they're the lifeblood of our companies, and the products that we put out is paramount. And I think this time where we've gone through this pandemic has really just reinforced the fact that you've got to really make sure that you're doing the right things for your coworkers, for your company, and the employees, to continue to move the business forward. And that means doing things a little differently. There's nothing wrong with that. It is really comes down to focusing on the importance of the culture and the way that you're the way that you're treating your employees. Part of that is also balancing balancing this all out with their work-life balance. We've all gone through stressful times here for a period of time. We were in a real shutdown and a lockdown as a country, and trying to balance that with homeschooling and working from home, and just all of the challenges of balancing that change. As employers, it's important to recognize that, and I think many have, and really given a sense of creating a culture for the workers coming back into the workplace to give them that opportunity to continue to find that right balance of providing great service at the company, but also balancing that with their home life. And I think for those companies that balance that well, it bodes well for them as far as labor challenges out there. It makes them very, very much a company that people want to work for moving forward, because they feel a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose and contribution. So I think there's some good lessons that have come out of all of this that we all can grow from.
And we talked about some things that fabricators have brought up, but what are you hearing from architects? Are there any trends on that side of the market that we need to be aware of?
I think from the design community's perspective, they've dealt with the same challenges that we have. Many of them are working remotely, just like we have all been dealing with. Working remotely brings its own set of challenges, but I think adapting and getting creative in the way that you're able to do that can actually springboard into providing better ways of moving the business forward. And I think from the design community's perspective, that collaborative efforts that they can put forth, whether it's learning new technologies or through Teams or Zoom or other virtual platforms, being able to collaborate with with other parties in the design, bringing others in that maybe otherwise they may not have done in the past, because it would have required physical, getting together physically, and time constraints and budgets just didn't allow. So now that we're, I guess, trained in the virtual world, it's given us an opportunity to really find creative ways to collaborate. And I think that push for collaboration is something that we're continuing to see on the design front. getting all parties involved, the glazing contractor, the suppliers, vendors, getting them involved in that design early on to look for opportunities, present better products, look for pitfalls or things that might have been missed if it's only looked at from one perspective. I think there's some great opportunities there. As far as the building design and trends themselves, I think this pandemic has also increased the awareness and acuteness of this labor challenge that we have in installing finished products, whether that's curtain walls or glazing. And I think we're going to see a continued push for more modular construction, off-site production or unitized production for curtain walls. That lends itself well for better quality control in many cases. A little more cost up front, but when you look at the net cost in the end, less trades, all trying to work together on a job site where obviously the pandemic can be very challenging. Unitizing addresses a lot of that. And so I think from the design perspective, as they're looking for ways to continue to provide these great buildings for us to work, live, and play in, that will be one of the elements, especially from the facades perspective. I think the other aspect, I mentioned the virtual side. I think there's no greater time than now for architects and for suppliers to be able to provide ongoing education, which is a great requirement and a need for the architects. Being able to offer that as a supplier, Quanex offers a number of different courses. Finished one earlier this week, and to be able to reach out and know that you're working with dozens of architects, possibly just working from home or some in the office, and yet still reaching them and educating them on various technologies and products that are available for them from a design perspective is a great thing. And I think we're going to see that trend continue.
Great. Talking a little bit more about healthy buildings, how do windows and components play a role in them today?
I think there's a number of different ways, Olivia, that they can contribute. I think there's been a lot of discussion before this pandemic ever hit of that healthy buildings and how there's such a benefit for us to be connected with the outside. The opportunity to, whether it's in school, having better study habits, whether it's more efficiencies with doing your job because you have connection to the outside. There's no better way to do that than to have glass as a part of that solution. High performance glazing is a critical component to that from the framing materials to the glass coatings to the warm edge spacers, getting that edge, and that glazing to be the right package so that you avoid glare, that you provide the thermal performance and the energy savings that are obviously required while, connecting us with the outside is a critical piece. I've said this before, glass has a way of connecting us with the outside while protecting us from the outside. And that's a great combination that I think fits well with healthy building design. We mentioned earlier, natural ventilation is another important part of that. I think we're going to continue to see more operable windows, whether that's tilt-turn design or just other operable configurations integrated into curtain walls and buildings. We'll see that trend continue as a part of a healthy building design and as a way of connecting us with the outdoors for healthy living.
So unfortunately, we're not in person this year for GlassBuild, and hopefully we will be again next year. But in the meantime, are there any products or services you want to call out that Quanex offers that you want everyone to be aware of?
I think we've shown a lot of these products at the GlassBuild show year over year, and I think our proven track record for 30 plus years now of bringing only the best in high performance glass and glazing solutions speaks for itself. Not only just in the materials and the products that we offer, but I think our customers and prospects and potential customers that visit us are also hearing that there's so much more that comes with Quanex than just a good spacer product or just good framing materials. There's the package of the service that comes with it, customer service, the sales and marketing support, the technical support, the connection with other industry stakeholders, and again, a vested interest in helping our customers grow. The architectural support and education that is available. Quanex is so much more than just a vendor. When you partner with Quanex, you're getting so much more, and it's exciting to be a part of that team. I wish that we were there to be able to connect directly with a lot of those customers as we usually do at the show, but I'm hopeful that I can reconnect with them next year as we're hopefully in person.
Yeah, absolutely. So in closing, what would you say is one of the biggest opportunities for manufacturers in this coming year? It's obviously a year unlike any other. So where's the opportunity here?
I think it kind of ties back to what Quanix has to offer. I think for the market, you're right. It's an uncertain time, but it's also an opportunity to springboard into some greater things. In times of adversity is when we can sometimes get most creative. It's when we really are driven to make that next level investment or maybe step into an opportunity that we otherwise may not have. And I think for fabricators, if you're in that position where you can look at automation, take a look at it now. The labor challenge isn't going to get any easier in the near future. There's so many other benefits that come with it other than just the labor. Partner with a supplier on your insulating glass needs that has the ability to work with you and grow with you, whether it's good times or it's tough times like we have right now, with products and process solutions that can grow with you and meet the demand where you're at and then take you where you want to be. And I think from Quanix's perspective, we've done a great job being able to bring those things to the table. And I'm hopeful that for those that have not had a chance to check out our virtual trade show booth, please do so. Get connected with one of us. Talk to us about what we've been able to help others with. We'd love to understand your needs and see how we can find something that really benefits you. And again, hopefully we'll be able to see you in person here in the near future.
Yeah, and if you need any more information on any of this, we're going to be updating Quanix's blog In Focus every week, and you can access that at quanix.com/infocus. So thank you for your time, Joe, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care.